On this week's show, we're discussing all of the breakdown from this year's Game Awards, some new reveals from Naughty Dog, CD Projekt Red, and From Software, plus maybe a little bit of news, actually probably stacked at the end of a very long, super bumper-packed episode of this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly show, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together and round up all the video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. We've got a great show for you lined up this week, and your podcast players are myself, Chris, at Arcane Rogue, and joining me as well, after a long, long night of staying up late, this is, in fact, the day after the night before, Mr. Richie, the man of many pixels. Welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
How much sleep have you had?
Not too bad, actually. I think I got about 5.5 hours, which, considering I was up till about 4:30 in the morning, covering the Game Awards,
that's not bad.
too bad. Not too bad.
Absolutely.
I feel okay.
For now.
The Titans will probably hit later, but
after we finish this show, hopefully, because of course we have done the hard work, everyone. We stayed up UK time till about 4:30 AM this past Thursday to bring you all the news. This is the day after the night before, where we've basically finished the show, went to bed, woke up, and we're here to record. That's how dedicated we are to you. So our thoughts might be quite fresh. We might make some mistakes in terms of we might miss an announcement or two because we made the list on the fly on very little sleep last night. And
we did indeed.
Yeah, we're only human, but we wanted to do it as per tradition on the channel, so here we are. And this episode is pretty much going to compromise of breaking it all down beat for beat, and we'll do our best to include everything. But there was some big announcements, Richie. Before we get into the actual show, of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content here, as we do actually celebrate passing the 2K 2,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube. It's been a long trek. It's been about 950 videos, both live and pre-recorded, episodes of the podcast, and celebration shows, everything to bring us to that magical 2,000 number. So thank you everyone for your support out there. It's been a long, slow crawl to 2K, but next we have to put the marker. Do you think 2.5 or 3 is the next kind of milestone?
I'd say 2.5.
Yeah, I like 2.5. It's like a good quarter of a century way with I feel.
Small, manageable milestones to
Yeah.
a big, manageable goal.
Absolutely, but we're currently sitting in the year 2000, so thank you everyone out there. And of course, don't forget, if you want to support the channel an extra bit further, you can become a guild hero from as little as 99p. You can get this show early, stickers and badges next to your name in the chat, and early access to some of our pre-recorded retro looks and live stream content. So thank you, guild heroes. You actually get this episode super, super early, so you're all awesome. Enjoy. Right, Richie. Very, very quickly, what have we been playing this week?
Astrobot.
Astrobot. Oh, well, that's definitely in the news.
Your copy of Astrobot, actually, but yeah, I want the platinum. So I've started it. I'm on the third galaxy, about halfway through that. So I'm making very good progress through it.
Very good progress, and we might as well mention it because it's here in the news right now. But the Astrobot's got some new levels that was announced this week. There's a Winter Wonderland theme or Winter Wonder theme. Maybe you couldn't get Wonderland, probably copyright. But I don't know if you've seen it, but it's got. I'm trying to think what I would describe it. It's basically a Christmas level.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it properly, but I know of it.
I'll get a trailer for all the fine folks out there in the wild. Because, of course, Astrobot in a lot of the categories for this last night's Game Awards. I can't find a trailer for it because apparently there isn't one. But, yeah, Winter Wonderland, it's got basically Christmas trees and Santa themes and a new secret bot for you to go find. So you can do that. You can go and find it out, have a look, and enjoy that. So that's Astrobot. I've been playing Indiana Jones. Of course, came out last week. First look went up on the channel. It's available now to anyone out there. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is, Richie, great. And it kind of segues us into the start of the Game Awards because it's not really in our doc, but they had Troy Baker out on stage.
Is it circular, though?
Is what circular?
The Great Circle.
I believe so. It's not triangular.
So it's great and circular.
Yeah, they had Todd Howard out on stage as well, and to everybody's surprise, it felt like they had the one and only Harrison Ford there as well, out on stage to give the award to the best voice actor, I think it was.
Best performance, I think.
Best voice capture performance, whatever it falls under. But yeah, what a get. We had Harrison Ford and Troy Baker getting very emotional standing next to the great Harrison Ford. And yeah, they did, in a weird way, they didn't actually talk about Indiana Jones at all. They just kind of didn't show any footage or trailers. There was a little advert later in the show, but it was just the pull of the Game Awards for the 20th anniversary. We know they've had random celebrities in the past, like Al Pacino, right? Was there like a random one we had last year, I think?
Yeah,
people
who some weird ones.
People who know nothing about video games just rocking up. And as we said, Harrison Ford's like in his 80s now, so he definitely has no clue about video games. But a tongue-in-cheek joke about saying if he knew Troy Baker was going to be that good, he would have stopped a long time ago, which is the biggest, highest compliment, I guess, for seeing it. But yeah, great to see that he's almost like endorsed the game, especially after it's done so well this past week.
It's made him a lot of money. That's why he's
his likeness. He's had to do absolutely nothing other than just let them use his likeness. But yeah, I'm about 7-8 hours in, thoroughly enjoying it. I was saying to you a little bit during last night's stream, it's just not what I expected. Immediately doing the opening kind of tutorial area, didn't care about the third person. I know that was my biggest bugbear leading up to it, but as soon as I was kind of in that world, I was like, okay, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm literally in the game as Indy. And yeah, the exploration, the mocap, Troy Baker's voice, it's all perfect. It is very much, I know I've never really played a Dishonored or a Thief or a Prey, but it's so much more like stealth and exploration than I ever expected, and it's surprisingly refreshing. Like just wander around, like side quests. Like it's not really. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a good stealth, because Star Wars Outlaws was very stealthy, but this stealth was crap.
It's video game stealth, so the AI is still a bit wonky. Where like there's something ironic.
Is it fun?
Yeah, it's absolutely fun.
With Star Wars Outlaws, when I watched my girlfriend play that, the stealth just seems so incredibly basic and also everywhere. Like, it felt like it was lacking depth.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. There's a lot to do with like you can wear costumes. As Indiana Jones does, you knock out a Nazi, you put his outfit on, and then people don't recognize you, so you can explore different areas. But it's not really spoilers, but the first part, which they've shown from the trailers, you end up at the Vatican. And what I didn't expect, because I thought it was going to be very linear, is you kind of just get to explore the Vatican grounds and wander around and do side missions, so speak to people, interact, find, like, do literal, like, side quests for them, where you're, like, looking for stuff and artifacts that help out other people that all feed into the main narrative eventually.
That must be quite interesting for you, because, well, me as well. We both went to the Vatican this year.
Yeah.
Separately, but we both went.
Yeah, we didn't go on a romantic getaway together. But yeah, it's like when it opens up on like the scene, it was like the building, the show. I'm like, I recognize that. Like I named it before the pop-up even like showed up, and it was like, oh, interesting. So yeah, it piqued my curiosity walking around. You have a camera to take photos, so like a lot of the stuff that you see, you can kind of get a little bit of real life information on as you're walking around.
So you can recreate your holiday snaps.
Almost without being pushed around. Actually, you're not even allowed a camera in places like the Sistine Chapel and stuff. So it's I had a little ironic chuckle to myself when I was like, ha ha ha! I'm taking a photo of the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and we were all shushed and told not to when we went in. But yeah, overall, like the action's great, and weirdly enough, I've not used my revolver yet at all. I've just been playing stealth and picking up items to like knock people out with like shovels and brushes and lampshades and stuff like that.
Yeah, it does feel like the revolver would be your last resort, though.
Absolutely. And I moved on to the next bit, so it's got Nazis, fascists, the Vatican, loads of pretty much Indiana Jones tropes. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to get back to it. Unfortunately, the Game Awards has just dropped loads of news on our lap, which means I can't play it because we've got to talk about it, and play it because we've got some stealth drops as well in and amongst the show. But yeah, can't wait. It's probably 100% going to be in my Game of the Year discussion as well, so we'll have to see.
It's very much climbing up my list of games I want to play. So I've got Astrobots to get through. I'm playing Lego Horizons with the girlfriend. Metaphor Fantasia, which I've put on hold just to get through Astrobots, because Astrobots are only very short. Yeah, and I've also seen it completed. Then I think it might be Indiana Jones after that.
Interesting. Busy Christmas period coming up, but we couldn't do that, Richie, without you introducing us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka The news.
The news. And as always, the news is brought to you by our Guild Heroes. You can support us just like they do from as little as 99p for early access to this very content. Right, Richie, there is only really one true news story for the week. We've touched on it, we've alluded to it. It's the name of the episode, it's the thumbnail for the episode.
Marvel Rivals.
Marvel Rivals has done really, really well. But no, we might get to that later on if we have time. But no, the Game Awards kicked off. Jeff Keighley was back for his 10th anniversary celebration of the Game Awards. And as an overall summary, I think he pulled out all the stops. The stage was fantastic. The guest list was fantastic. And I thought the show overall was on the best it's ever been. I think there wasn't as much fluff or filler. It ticked along at quite a decent pace. It did have that little block in the middle where we felt a bit fatigued. But I think that would be just down to the nature of the show's so long.
It's a 4-hour show.
Yeah.
It's a 4-hour show and we're watching this after midnight. We're always going to feel fatigued.
Yeah. Absolutely. You would have to put some big stuff in there to really bring out the energy for us. But that being said, I think overall great on everyone. There was like no leaks leading up to it, bar one or two things we knew about. And yeah.
I've still got a few criticisms. Despite how good. It's just the same stuff every year. One, put it at a time that makes sense for Europe as well as the US. I know it's based in the US, but still, come on, Jeff. Like, there's the rest of the world to consider as well.
Yeah, it's that thing where they do it afternoon stateside, but it's like you could just do it through the day in a way because it is a global event. And
remember what the event is. It's the Game Awards. Even though there's a lot of awards that I don't have any interest in the esports awards, but I think it's disrespectful to the people who win to not give them at least the chance to walk up on stage and get handed the trophy.
Yeah.
The fact that some awards are shunted to the pre-show or he groups a few together and just glosses through them in the space of a minute.
Yeah.
Like, you're losing sight of what this show should be. This should be a celebration of games. This should be like every award gets. You don't have to give a speech for everything, but give them the chance to walk up, shake the hands of whoever's presenting the awards, wave to the cameras, walk off. Minimum requirements, I think, for every award.
The Game of the Year winner did actually have, thankfully, a bit more time on stage this year.
True.
Which was like, oh, sweet, we actually got a little bit more. What I'll probably say then, Richie, speaking of giving the awards the whole 5 seconds, should we rattle through the actual winners? Because we know everyone here is for the actual game news, not the actual awards. If you want to know that, go watch the ceremony. But yeah, take us through the categories and the award winners.
So I'll save Game of the Year for last. So starting with Best Game Direction, the nominees were Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong.
I wouldn't even do the nominees. We'll be forever doing that. Just straight to the winners.
The winner was Astrobot for Game Direction.
Hey, we're going to see a trend.
Yep. Best Narrative, Metaphor Refantasio.
Refantasio.
Best Art Direction, Metaphor Refantasio. I'm just reading this from an IGN article.
Yeah, go for it.
Best Score and Music, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Best Audio Design, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
Yep, we expected that.
The Harrison Ford Award for Best Performance. Melina Jurgens from Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
Yep, it's 2.
Not a surprise there.
No, not at all.
She's incredible. Innovation and Accessibility, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown.
Ubisoft's only showing at the whole thing, I think.
No, that's Star Wars Outlaws in the same category.
No, I mean, like, they didn't have anything. They didn't have anything to show either. Yeah, there was no actual game reveals.
Yeah, Games for Impact. Never. I'm not sure. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Never. Best ongoing game, Helldivers 2.
Yes. Democracy
wins. Best community support, Baldur's Gate 3. Best independent game, Balatro. Best debut indie game, Balatro. It'd be weird if something else won that.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah, you win best indie game, but not debut.
Best mobile game, Balatro. Best VR AR game, Batman Arkham Shadow. Best action game, Black Myth Wukong. Best action adventure game, Astrobot. Best RPG, Metaphor Refantasio. Best fighting game, Tekken 8. Best family game, Astrobot. Best sim or strategy game, Frostpunk 2. Best sports or racing game, EA Sports FC 25. Best multiplayer game, Helldivers 2. Best adaptation, Fallout. Most anticipated game, Grand Theft Auto 6. Content Creator of the Year, Queso. Best esports game, League of Legends. Best esports athlete, Faker. Best esports team, T1. Team 1.
Terminal 1, Heathrow Airport.
And finally, the game of the year, Astrobot.
Astrobot. Dun, dun, dun. Wow, what a list of announcements. And I just want to pat myself on the shoulder for getting about 90% of them right throughout the stream.
Yeah, it's true. You did. Everyone should go watch the stream after this podcast, and Chris absolutely nailed it.
I was like a savant tuned into the industry this year.
And you know what? I don't think there's a single controversy in this.
No, I was happily pleased with it. It was like, not because it was everything that I was kind of expecting, but I feel like the flowers were given out in the right order, how they should have been. Like, family games went to the right people. The game of the year went to inevitably like an actual game. I think if Elden Ring won, it would have kind of rocked the boat and done damage to the Game Awards credibility a little bit. And during the show, Jeff did a lot of like tongue-in-cheek jokes. They had Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets ribbing him throughout the show about just DLC was included and the show's going on forever and this is the ad break, we're still asleep, why is it so long? And it kind of echoed everything we were feeling throughout the course of the stream. So it was a nice little like kind of fourth wall break using a couple of Muppets along the way. But yeah, overall, congratulations obviously to all the winners. Some big games there, some games that are just getting started. And it was just great to see. Overall, security was on point, Richie. They had a special little pin badge wave, letting people up onto stage and ushering people off on time. And yeah, overall, just felt like a really good celebration with all deserved winners. But I think we all agree that they need to do a little category reshuffle next year, just to tighten that screw a little bit on what certain categories mean.
Yeah, it's things like when they got Best Action and Best Action Adventure. I feel like there needs to be more to differentiate them because like Call of Duty Black Ops, Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, they're all in the same. These games are not comparable, really.
No, they're not the same at all.
Astrobot, Prince of Persia, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. They're not comparable games, so it's like the categories I think are a bit too vague in the criteria of why one should win and one shouldn't.
Absolutely. But Richie, they are the winners. So let's laser focus ourselves down onto the actual announcements because that's what everyone's here for. That's what we were realistically there for. In and amongst the sprinkled in awards, it's pretty much a game announcement show. And I think that's where it pulls in most of its viewers for the announcements. We had a half an hour pre-show, which we'll get into some of the games that were announced because we did get announcements in the pre-show, which is the kind of like... I think it's the way of getting rid of a lot of the fluff that would have normally just been too small to be in there.
But I don't think there's any real difference between the pre-show and the main show nowadays because you get announcements and you get awards.
Yeah,
both of them.
But I think the games in the pre-show, they are significantly smaller that they maybe don't want to put in the main one. Either way, though, kicking things off, Richie, we've got the return of Ninja Gaiden with Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Tell us about that.
Well, Ninja Gaiden is back with Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I'm reading this from Eurogamer, as I will be for all of them. Made by the Game Kitchen, the studio behind Rock Hard Soulsy, Metroidvania Blasphemous, and Dotemu. The publishers behind Streets of Rage 4 Ragebound look set to follow in Blasphemous's 2D pixel art footsteps for an agile slice and dice adventure that's almost certainly going to kick our collective asses when it arrives in summer 2025.
Yeah. Before we get into the main show, it feels like everything shown was like 2025. Like everything
had
a
2026s.
Yeah, there's a few out there, but it was like, next year is going to be stacked.
It is, yeah.
In terms of Ninja Gaiden, though, it's one of those where it's kind of like famed for like defining the genre with like wall runners and 2D platformers, like jumping back and forth and being able to hang onto the wall, which I think took like the formula of like Super Mario and just like went, how can we make this next level for traversal?
Yeah, wasn't it originally on like the Sega Mega Drive? Like it's that era of gaming.
Yeah, it's Mega Drive, SNES, I think. I've seen clips of it time and time again. I've just never owned it. Like it's just never,
me either.
Never been there. But I've got a deep appreciation for it because I've probably played hundreds of games since that have used those style mechanics into it. And looking at it, it does just look like a great fun laugh to have. It strikes me. You can tell it comes from the same people who've just done Ninja Turtles and Streets of Rage and stuff. It has that ultimate 90s vibe to it. But Ninja Gaiden Ragebound
was actually released in the arcade and then the NES in 1989. It's older than us.
Damn. Well, it's solid vintage there for that one. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound looks great. We then got DLC. We don't. Is it DLC? We don't really know. We got a Dave the Diver kind of called Into the Jungle coming next year, but it didn't say whether it was DLC or not. I don't know if you can add some clarity on that.
The PlayStation trailer states it's DLC.
Right.
Dave the Diver in the Jungle DLC trailer.
DLC trailer. Fair enough.
So one of the briefest teasers for this one, but everyone's favourite diver, Dave, is seemingly heading into the jungle for his next adventure. At the time of writing, it's unclear whether this is an expansion or full-blown sequel. We going by the PlayStation trailer saying DLC in the title of the video. I think it is an expansion.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is, it's coming late 2025.
Yeah,
Dave the Diver.
Yeah, Dave the Diver's one that I haven't checked out yet. I did download it because it was free on PlayStation Plus onto my dashboard. And you know when it kind of sits on the dashboard and then you're like, I'll get to it. And then it slowly makes its way further down the list of tile icons. And then it gets to that point when you need to delete some stuff to make space for a new big game. And you go, sorry. And it goes, and I deleted it, and I never actually had a chance to play it, even though it got loads of plaudits. And it was in with Best Debut Game, I think, or one of the indie categories.
That's the thing, when there's so many awesome games out there, you just can't play them all.
Yeah. And it does look great as well. It's one of them where like the art style's great, and from what I've heard, it's diver by night, shopkeeper by day, kind of really funny tongue-in-cheek humour. We then got One Move Away, which looked like a VR version of Get Packed.
I'm not sure if it is actually VR.
Sorry, we thought it was VR, and then it wasn't VR.
Yeah, it looks like it should be because it's in the first-person view with like the kind of janky floating arms.
Yeah,
but it looks almost like Tetris for filling up a car boot.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's more to this, but
I mean, it's that kind of like get packed fun that we've had, isn't it? What was the other one? Get Packed and Moving Out were the two, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Get Packed, Moving Out. I think there was the third one, wasn't there?
Get Packed 2, maybe? Move More? Can't remember what it was called. But yeah,
I'd be surprised if there isn't a VR version of this at some point.
It ultimately looks like it would fit into that perfectly fine. But yeah, it is very much... I would say it's more of a cozy game. There's not really any stress. It looks like you're going to go into whatever building you own and drag your furniture out and put it into your vehicle to get moved. And I'm sure there's going to be some kind of score system for how much you cram in there and how efficient you are. But yeah, it looks like a fun, cozy game, I would say.
Interestingly, to me, it does look totally like a VR game. The platforms is on the Steam, PS5, and Xbox. That's where I wonder if they're not announced it being a VR game because Xbox haven't announced a VR. Xbox are talking about they want to take over like the Xbox storefront to be the main place to play PC games. That's what they're aspiring to. So VR could eventually come as part of that.
Yeah, well, they could aspire to that, just like we could aspire to Slay the Spire.
Again, Slay the Spire 2. It's non-quantity, but this latest trailer gives a better look to the sequel. It's a deck-building roguelike. The hints of 4 character types down and lots of nifty-looking battles. You'll also be pleased to hear that it's still coming early access 2025. It's more Slay the Spire, basically. If you enjoyed it, then awesome, you get more game.
Yeah, Slay the Spire was one where it was like, it's a card game, but it's got a great story to it as well. Yeah. And then the roguelike elements of like, actually, you kind of have to restart your deck and go back into the world with like a different approach every time, I think is what made Slay the Spire quite unique and quite beloved on its initial run round.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. Like that, all your battles, you have to use your deck to fight all the different monsters and beasties and stuff. It does look cool. Never played it, personally.
No, same. I know it's one that I can just appreciate from afar for the art style and the approach to take it, but I think card games are just not for me. It's one of them where it's either not, you're not doing enough, maybe. Like it's kind of like the turn-based RPG stuff as well. Like it's just something that really doesn't vibe with me as much. Even though I've enjoyed them. Action. Yeah, even though I've enjoyed them in the past. Like one of my favorite ones was Lord of the Rings Tactics on the PSP. But I don't know if that was just the IP doing some big lifting on that part where I was willing to see it through.
I enjoy turn-based games and stuff.
Yeah.
I like games where they're trying to like do different stuff with mechanics, because I think everything has a tendency to become an open world action RPG at the moment.
Yeah.
So having stuff that just bucks that trend is always good, in my opinion.
I agree. I know we seem to be clipping through these at a fast pace, but we'll probably spend more time talking about the bigger games, and that's why we're not deliberately rushing through these. It's just there's so much, guys. Next up, we had Thick as Thieves.
Thick as Thieves. So Warren Spector's studio, Otherside Entertainment, has unveiled its first game, Thick as Thieves, a multiplayer thief em up that blends a heist-based stealth with frantic action as you work to beat other would-be hustlers to the punch as you steal high valuable treasures from fancy mansions.
Fancy man.
It's coming out 2026. So basically, this game is it's an online game. You get a target. Everyone has to compete to steal that target and get out and get it back to probably the fence who gives you the mission.
Yeah, and we really like the look of this game. It had those vibes of I said it looked like the Outer Worlds, I think, or We Happy Few. It's got that art style, but the concept of it is four plus different people kind of hunting the same map, looking for one particular relic or item, stealing it, and then escaping. So you're evading not only the police, security, but also the other people trying to get the same item. So it's almost a bit like is it tag, whatever it is? You know, where like one person's and then you all have to try and avoid them or catch them.
So what I'm hoping is that there's enough complexity in the gameplay where everyone can use different strategies, where you can maybe lie and wait for someone else to unlock a safe or something, and then you jump them.
There's a really good mode in Time Splitters 3 and the other ones where you've got to kind of capture an item and get it back to your base, like capture the flag a little bit, but it's a bit more varied. And that's the vibe I get. If they can nail like a capture the flag style bit of gameplay, but with a bit of competitiveness in, and the AI is smart enough to actually get in the way of your competition, I think it could make for a really good dynamic where you've got like so many different inputs trying to almost like stop you. It makes it tactical and varied enough that it's actually, you get like a really good gameplay loop out of it.
Yeah, it's almost one of them where like griefing in like multiplayer games is usually just go, oh god, fuck off, mate.
Yeah,
but it feels like that's what this game could actually just embrace. Where actually, if I'm like cracking open the safe, then you're just hiding in the roof or something like Spider-Man style. And as soon as I get the safe off, you drop down on me, stun me out, and then you're out the window. Then I have to give chase. I think it could be some really cool like moments in there.
Absolutely. And this is all just the pre-show, folks. This is all just the pre-show. Next up, we got Shadow Labyrinth, which caught us off guard because the name's cool, it looks cool, but somehow it's a Pac-Man game, Richie.
Yeah, this is weird. So riffing on the just released Pac-Man episode of Amazon's Secret Level TV anthology series, something I need to watch.
Yeah. This
new take on Pac-Man looks to be an intriguing dark fantasy Metroidvania where Old Pac, or Puck, as it's known in the TV show, guides a homegrown creature to the end of a maze-like world. In this episode, Puck manipulates the creature to try and escape, but it looks like you'll have greater control of Puck's monstrous jaw powers here. Still, I'm quietly intrigued by this. It's weird because the trailer at first looks like it's just like another like Metroidvania style action side scroller, and you got this weird ball following you, and then the ball goes full on Pac-Man and starts eating like stuff on the map, and I go, is that Pac-Man? Then it like came up saying Bandai Namco. I was like, it's fucking Pac-Man.
Yeah, consume darkness with this giant. It literally looks like there's like Pac-Man's almost like a possessive ghost spirit that takes on somebody and makes them run through these labyrinths. But I mean, it's different, but it's also probably the coolest thing that's happened to Pac-Man in a long time. Where it's like it looks gritty and the gameplay looks fun, and I'm kind of morbidly curious about why the hell Pac-Man's or an evil version of Pac-Man's taking over mysterious hooded people and playing Metroidvania games. But yeah, Shadow 100%. Labyrinth. We then had, I think we'll skip over a few for the sake of time, Richie. Steel Paws, which was a cat game. Tales of the Shire got a brief trailer. Stallcraft Operations, I can't even remember what that was.
I don't know. I feel like that might actually just be a developer that have written it down.
Oh, all right, just wrote it down in the tightness.
It was late. I was typing quick.
Midnight Murder Club looked pretty decent. That although it looked decent, but then the trailer got a little bit messed up, I would say, because it was short.
Find a description for that actually.
The Midnight Murder Club was the one where they were basically, it looked like typical like murder mystery, Agatha Christie style. You were in a crew. It seemed like it had, local sound. What's it called? Proximity sound. Where if you're playing with people, it's like if the closer you are to them in the dark. But you go into this big creepy mansion, you have your torch and stuff like that, and you have a couple of people with you, and you're going around either looking for a murderer or one of you get picked off one by one in the dark, and you all have to try and hunt down the killer while at risk of being killed yourself. The only problem I had with the gameplay is because so much of it's in the dark, it's hard to really show off in a trailer.
Yeah.
I was just looking at lots of lights and people having like chuckle giggles to themselves, and it's like, that's what you're showing off? That's what you're showing off?
I feel like on the Steam page, they've got a few streamers doing covering it as part of their trailers. So I think because it is dark, it's probably better to get people's hands on and impressions of it. Yeah,
it was that. If you remember when they showed off the Division trailer years ago, and they had like the fake voice actors almost going like, "Oh, he's on your left, he's on your right, take him down." Yeah, it was
I always find it cringy.
Yeah, the ultimate cringe of.
I don't like when they do like a streamer reaction stuff for like adverts. But what they should do, I think, for a game like that to market is get in the hands of streamers and get them talking about it and playing it on their streams.
Yeah, it's a tough one to show off just by what they're doing. We then had an interesting one, and believe it or not, Richie, I didn't know this till now. We got Rematch, which is a football game from the creators of Sifu. This totally slipped past us. This was the Sifu game.
It was, yeah.
It starts with a guy with a top knot.
Game.
And the art style matches up as well.
Yeah. But it looks crazy. It looks like five-a-side football, but from like a third person behind, like over-the-shoulder perspective. But it seems like you're focused on playing as one player.
Yeah, it looks like when you play FIFA, it was it not pro? Was it pro mode where you would play as one player for the whole game?
Yeah, it looks like basically a version of that.
Yeah, but five-a-sides, it's got more like FIFA Street vibes to it, where like when you use power shots and stuff, you've got like kind of speed lines and aerodynamic. So it actually reminds me specifically of FIFA 2002 World Cup when you shot with superpower, the ball had like flames coming off of it, so it's like almost like anime-ifying it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's called Rematch. It looks like Rocket League, as Richie said. It's five-a-side, and as a football fan, I'm looking at them like, oh yeah, that's cool. And now I know it's Sifu developers behind it. I'm like, that's a pivot, but I'm here for it.
They do say other modes will be coming post-launch. But the only issue I have with this game is they have someone wearing the number 1 shirt playing outfield, and that's just sinful.
Yeah, that's
number 1 plays in goal. Them's the rules.
Unless the goalie can come out.
I think literally in some leagues that is actually in the rules.
That might be interesting. Yeah. Speaking of five-a-side and the goalkeeper coming out, remember when we were kids? Why did we call that Mergies and Russians?
I don't know.
Like, what is the connection to that? Like, anyone in the chat comments if you played football as a kid in school, when the goalkeeper could come out at any time, so he wasn't tied to his box, what did you call it, and why does Richie and me in the Northeast call it Mergies and Russians? Don't answer it now. I want the chat to help us out with this, because I guarantee you all around the country people had like different terms for it.
Do you think it's meant to be like rush in so any player can just rush into the box and become the keeper?
No, I think it was Russians like specifically. I don't know what Mergies are either, but we'll find out. And the last one is part of the pre-show, Richie. We got Solasta 2 was teased.
Yeah.
What was this around the pre-show? The sequel, which I've never had the original game.
Yeah, Solasta Crown of the Magister is an enormous RPG, and is now its sequel has been confirmed for early access in 2025, with a demo coming very soon. According to its new game awards trailer, set decades after the event of the first game, the sequel will take place to the high fantasy world of Neokos, where they'll roll dice using the D20 system to guide their party through all sorts of fantastical adventures. And wouldn't you know it, they've even got Baldur's Gate 3's narrator Amelia Tyler on board too. So it's a game in the vein of something like a Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, it feels like it's one of them games that's going to get to like 4 or 5 entries, and I've never heard of it or seen anything about it before. It's very much almost like the trailer looks like it's Proxima Midnight. and she's rocking about there. But yeah, it looks decent enough. Don't know what.
It's a tactical RPG. I've not heard of it, but it looks cool. If he's getting Baldur's Gate comparisons, that's always a good start.
Yeah, it's a great place to start. If you probably showed me footage of this with the Baldur's Gate like kind of logo treatment, I'd just be like, yeah, it's Baldur's Gate. So yeah, like I said, that's good company to be in.
I think Baldur's Gate last year proved that games like this, these kind of top-down turn-based, well, semi-turn-based RPGs that were prevalent in the PC gaming in the 1990s, still have a home at the top seat of gaming.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them come back.
Absolutely.
Which is something I wish Dragon Age would remember, because that's the roots of Dragon Age.
Yeah. Pardon me. It does look like very Dragon Agey with the purple, to be fair. But that was the pre-show. We got a couple of awards sprinkled in there, and then we moved on to the main show. And the main show kicked off with one hell of an offering, Richie. We got a cinematic trailer, which caught everyone by surprise. We guessed it. I mean, you guessed it pretty early on.
I guessed it very quickly.
Getting in the bathtub. Yeah. The Witcher 4 tease official. We knew it was in the works as Project Polaris, if I'm not mistaken, and they've been working on it for quite some time. Obviously, now CD Projekt Red's wrapped up with Cyberpunk. We know they're pushing next into The Witcher, full-on production of a new Witcher trilogy, and yeah, what did this trailer do for you, Richie? You're the Witcher big Witcher fan amongst us. We know we're playing as Ciri as the protagonist now. Seemingly Geralt is in the game still. The voice actor is appearing at the end of the trailer as voice only. But yeah, we got a very beautiful cinematic trailer shot in Unreal Engine 5. So we know CD Projekt have pivoted over now to a new engine. So hopefully it'll look a little bit tidy and different. What are your thoughts on The Witcher 4?
100% in. Like,
were you ever not going to be?
Awesome character. No. Ciri's an awesome character, and I think making the right choice to make her the new protagonist. Because it gives them a chance to move away from Geralt. The Witcher 3 kind of sets that up, depending on what ending you personally get. So it is kind of open-ended. So I'm guessing they're doing the thing where they'll make one possible ending canon to The Witcher 3.
Right.
Ciri seems a bit older in this, but more Witcher is always good.
More Witcher is always good, yeah, absolutely. The Witcher is one of them where I absolutely adore it, and I've never actually got around to finishing the game still, because I think I've started it about 3 or 4 times. I get the same depth of distance into it, and then something new comes out, and I pivot over to it, and it's one of them where it's no disrespect to the game. It's such a big game. I can't fully get into it and commit because I'm also wanting to play the latest and greatest that's came out, and because it is such an old game now, it never has me in the moment. So I think with Witcher 4, I'm 100% there day one, and I fully intend to play through it all like in the moment, live with everyone else. Yeah. I was saying to you during the live show, I'm reading the books currently. When's the new TV series out? Although Hemsworth's probably going to fall off a cliff with it, as much as he's going to try and save it.
I feel the TV series just kind of fizzled out. I don't think I even watched season 3.
As soon as it lost Cavill, that was pretty much it, right? I don't know what they're going to do to kind of just rebrand them. But yeah, it's such a shame because it could have been huge. But thankfully, the games still live on. And no doubt on CD Projekt, this is going to be ginormous as well. So Witcher 4, what are you expecting? Just more open world, massive stories told? Where does The Witcher 3 tie in with the books? Is it like, are we book 3 of 8 in, or is it its own entity?
I've not read the books, but I have got a bit of knowledge about them. I think the books kind of lead up to the events of The Witcher 1. Mm-hmm. And then The Witcher 1 then kind of takes the series forward from the game's point of view.
Yeah, I remember I think the first book, the main part at the end of it is when Geralt's on the boat going over to get Ciri, and the boat gets attacked by something big in the water. I don't know if that's even in the game or not, but I know it was in the TV show. So like my brain's like half between what I've played of the game, half between the show, and half between what I've read in the book, so I can't really pinpoint anything. But we know Ciri's here. She's got a cat's eyes. She's pretty much gone through the Witcher transformation, which is a big deal.
Witcher 1 kind of starts off in Kaer Morhen, but Geralt just being the kind of recovered, throughout the events of the TV show, and it's brought up in The Witcher 3, Geralt actually, you find out he was previously working with the Wild Hunt, and he did it to save Ciri.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, Witcher 1 started after that happened. So he has amnesia. He has no idea where he's been. He knows he's a Witcher, but he doesn't really know much else.
Mm-hmm.
But his relationships are already in place with people like Triss, with like Yennefer,
Yeah.
like with Yaskia or Dandelion, if you prefer.
Yeah, that confused me in the books.
So it's his name's Dandelion.
Yeah, I remember watching this show and then getting to this point where I'm like, I'm pretty sure this Dandelion guy sounds like Yaskia, but I was like, is he a different character or something?
No,
and then it finally comes together. I'm like, that's a weird name.
So that's where The Witcher 1 starts. So it literally starts probably after the initial run of books. Mm-hmm. So rather than retelling the books, I think when they were making The Witcher 1, they decided to just continue the story.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing. And I think the TV show is kind of like retelling the story of the early books, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Yeah.
Working its way through. But
Witcher 4 seems like it's just going to continue on from where Witcher 3 left off, probably about 10 years later by the looks of it, with Ciri as the new lead.
And speaking of 10 years later, do you want to put an estimate for you on the release window?
Ooh.
I think 25 is way too early.
26, I reckon.
26? Yeah, we don't know how much of the studio... Obviously, they wrapped up on Cyberpunk, back in 2020?
Well, Phantom Liberty's, 2 years now?
Was it 2020 Cyberpunk originally came out, the main game? It's been like 4 years. Phantom Liberty was last year.
Yeah, so
but that was DLC, remember? So again, like, you're not going to have your whole team working on DLC.
But it's a huge chunk of game, though.
Yeah. Plus, how much of the team had to buckle down and fix Cyberpunk, where they would have probably traditionally moved on.
True, yeah. So it's probably slowed them down a bit.
But they have upscaled, haven't they? And they've said about opening like new, smaller studios to work on other projects, because they have about 3 things on the go, don't they? There's Polaris and another couple. So,
I feel, though, this is going to be the main CG Project Red team.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Taking the lead. So
absolutely.
I think probably once Phantom Liberty was done, then the main focus will shifted over to Witcher 4.
Yeah.
So they've had probably a year in the oven, plus probably a few years of pre-production and getting ideas together, writing that overview of the plots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I reckon 2026 at the earliest, possibly 2027.
True. Yeah, I think that's about right. But then ultimately, what a way to kick off the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Witcher 4, no subtitle yet. Do you think it'll stay that, or it'll have something? I think Witcher 4 is just where they're going with it.
I think it might have a subtitle.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they probably don't want to reveal it yet, because it could be one where it just gives you too much info.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking more info, they then followed that up, Richie, with the next game announcement from Software. Brought us a new trailer in the Elden Ring universe called Elden Ring Nightreign.
Cool name.
Cool name.
From Soft know how to name a game.
And this one's a little bit different. I don't know if you've seen since. I was listening to a little bit of coverage from the Game Awards, and apparently this is a standalone game. They did make a joke about that. Jeff Keighley did mention it. It's a standalone game. It's not DLC, so it could be considered for next year's Game Awards. It's a co-op game, seemingly set after the events of Elden Ring. And basically the world shrinks around you over short 15-minute windows. So it's almost like an Elden Ring roguelike that you can play with somebody.
Yeah,
you can play it single player, they did say, but basically, it's done over a cycle of 3 days, and every day seemingly is like a 15-minute stint. So you have like a 45-minute, I guess, game run at any given time, and you'll pick a different set class. So it's unlike normal Elden Ring where you stack out all of your abilities and add-ons yourself. It looks like they do have like quite set classes. You pick one of them, you go in.
Elden Ring does have like set classes.
I know what I mean, but in terms of like your inventory, you can stack it all out. Whereas this one, because you've only got 15 minutes, it's like drop in with a set class, 15 minutes to find all the best armor, gear, and potions and stuff that you can. Get in and get out, and then at the end of the 45 minutes, you fight a big boss. And if you win, you win. If not, you go back to the start like a roguelike style and start again. So it's like, it's Elden Ring, but it's like, it's been twisted quite a lot.
Yeah. FromSoft have always dabbled with multiplayer. Even like Dark Souls 1 has kind of some multiplayer elements where you can find like these kind of blood echoes around the place where players can leave each other messages.
Yeah.
And you've always been able to summon in other characters for boss fights and stuff
To help out.
So it looks, I'm guessing they sat there and going, what could we do to actually make this full kind of multiplayer? But the problems with multiplayer, I think, for a game like an Elden Ring, is this game's huge, and if me and you are playing together, we have to wait. We can't play until we're both ready to play. Otherwise, you just get desynced.
Well,
like, you might be 5 levels ahead of me, got all these quests that I can't do, so it becomes fragmented.
But this is where it's not that type of game,
Yeah. It means that every time if me and you wanted to play, every time we want to play, we can just jump in and go.
Yeah. It's I think the 50 minutes in the shrinking world as well, you can't go running off exploring when the map is literally shrinking around you.
Yeah.
Leading up to inevitably a boss fight in a small arena, which is what the trailer shows off. It's a choice. I'm curious what to do. Like you referenced there with the save files, I'd be curious to know if they dive into your Elden Ring save file and you almost like fight yourself from the previous game. Is it like a nameless hero? Is the big boss?
Not. I think because they've got such good like track record of designing boss fights, I think they'll probably just stretch the creative muscles. I wouldn't actually be surprised if these are a lot of ideas they had for bosses in Elden Ring that they didn't make the cut to the main game. But now we've got this book of monster designs and boss fight mechanic ideas. What can we do with it? Let's slap them into a multiplayer game. And there you go.
And you've got it. But yeah, overall, again, it's not really for us, but I think it's big for Elden Ring. It seems like FromSoft are happy to kind of rinse this sponge for a little bit more of its worth before moving on to the next big project. But just the turnaround, I think people didn't expect Erdtree to be so fresh and so big and so well received. And then now the build off the back of this, I'm sure it'll be up there as well. We then moved on to a bit of an odd one. We got a couple of things with like there was a cat game announced, there was Path of Exile 2 trailer, which we've seen stuff from before, but it wasn't that huge. We then got something called Project Robot, which is from the people behind previously Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian. We know Studio Japan was shut down, but Jeff, I'm trying to think how he posed this one. It was almost like he got a little bit emotional with being given the right to showcase this from like one of the most passionate creators out there. And we saw something interesting, but there wasn't really much, was it? It was published by Epic. And I don't know what your thoughts were on this. What if we've got any more information since?
I don't think much more information has dropped. Well, the fact that it's called Project Robot, that's new. That we didn't know that last night. It was just Jeff Keighley said it's an untitled game from the. So it's the lead of Team Eco. So the people who made like Eco, they've made Shadow of the Colossus and Last Guardian. So these are kind of really are quite artful games, exploring some often quite dark themes and twisting narratives and kind of odd, like kind of unsettling worlds, almost quite very bleak. If you think of like Shadow of the Colossus, there's only got like 8 enemies in the entire thing.
Mm-hmm. And boy, do you bring them down.
It's one of them. I think these games are almost designed to be cult classics, and I'd be surprised if this isn't. It looks like this time out he's going a bit more sci-fi.
Yeah, he's trying something a bit different. It does look like he's sticking with the little and large theme though, where like you play as someone really small in the world, but you're interacting with beings that maybe existed long before. And the trailer doesn't really give us much. He climbs up a giant, seemingly robot colossus body, then flies off in its head as this giant kind of like wave of just trash or storm.
It's like black, isn't
it? Sweeps away. Yeah, the color palette's definitely a choice as well. It's very noir.
Yeah, it does have that kind of same color palette and art style that you get from a Shadow of the Colossus in The Last Guardian.
What do you think about when they showcase titles that don't have names yet? Do you think it's like you could maybe just save it until you've settled on something, or?
I don't know, but the thing is, I think sometimes stuff like this, where one, it's the 10th year anniversary, so he might not have been at a point where he wanted to show, but thought it, we'll pull a trailer together.
Yeah, we'll get something. It out there. Mm-hmm.
It also could be for investment as well.
Yeah,
so
true.
It might be earlier on development than he ideally would like to show it, but by showing it, I think something like the Game Awards, it gets people like us talking about it.
Yeah,
that's then easier to sell to investors. And Well, I mean, I know it's getting published by Epic, but Epic will be eyes on that and the reaction to that trailer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We then moved over to getting a showing from Microsoft, who had quite a little presence actually at the awards, which is no surprise because they have their own showcases in the summer and they've been talking a lot more actively than Sony have. Outer Worlds 2 dropped a trailer, a really funny trailer. I think it was probably the most one we chuckled to ourselves throughout, showcasing the Outer Worlds 2, which we knew about, right? I'm not going crazy. That's already been a thing.
I think so, yeah. It's quite tongue-in-cheek at the openings, like from the team that brought Knights of the Old Republic 2 and Fallout 3 2 New Vegas.
Yeah.
Neverwinter Nights 2.
Yeah, they've always nailed down doing sequels, so they're bringing us a sequel to their own game. And yeah, I said during the time, it's so weird how obviously Obsidian's split between two teams, and you've got one who's working on Avowed and one who's working on Outer Worlds, but distinctly looking at the art styles and the gameplay, my interest in Outer Worlds 2 is so much higher than Avowed, and I just still cannot pin why that is. Like, where are you saying? You were leaning more towards Avowed, but I'm more fantasy, really. But it's weird how Outer Worlds has just kind of got me going, yeah, this looks fun and cool. I don't know if it's the colour palette of Avowed. Maybe I'm just, like, wasted on it. A bit like Dragon Age. Like, the colour palette choice of Dragon Age, like, the art style. It's just not doing...
about Avowed. It looks good. But I feel like we, oddly enough, haven't seen enough to kind of go, oh, that's what you're doing. Because it still does look, it's just a bit kind of like Skyrim with the saturation turned up.
Yeah. Or you've took an acid trip.
It's meant to be really cool, but it doesn't feel like they've found the right way to market it yet. Yeah,
it's so weird. Yeah, I'm looking at Outer Worlds, I'm like, it just looks crisp and clean, and the tech, like almost like the steampunk vibes it gives off is cool. It's almost got like a Bioshock tinge to it. Maybe that's what's pulling me in with it. But yeah, Outer Worlds 2 coming 2025, so that means it's going to slot in with the Microsoft kind of like every quarter they're going to have a game. Obviously coming to PS5 as well.
Yeah, indeed.
So it's another Xbox, one of a few Xbox games that I feel like might trickle along to the next one.
I'm surprised Avowed wasn't here because it's February it comes out.
They've got a developer direct, though, haven't they, in January? So I think that's going to be their last big push of like, right, this is what it's about, along with a couple of other things that we'll see. We'll probably see more of the Outer Worlds, actually, next month as well. But what we thankfully did see at the Game Awards, on top of that, is Joseph Fares was there again with his bravado. He brought his kids along to show us the next game from Hazelight Studios. Split Fiction, which we knew about this because it kind of leaked a couple of weeks ago. We covered it on the podcast. But he showed it off, and thankfully, Richie showed it off with plenty of gameplay. This looks great. This is one of my highlights of the show. It's two dual protagonists. They go to what looks like a tech company, a bit like Total Recall, where they take your own kind of visions for a dream and telling a story, and they bring it to life in some kind of computer system, a bit like the Animus from Assassin's Creed. And something goes wrong, their worlds collide, and you end up being in two universes, one high fantasy, one sci-fi, is playing as two characters, as with most Haze-like games, couch co-op, and you jump each level between each of the genres in a what's like a fun co-op platformer similar to It Takes Two. And I think we love this trailer. It showed off so much gameplay. I was like, I'm in. I can see what the game's about. I'm there for it.
I genuinely think this is one of the best ways to show off a game. I think he absolutely nailed what he needed to do. He got on stage. He talked a bit about it. Talked passionately about it. Didn't overstay his welcome on stage. Had a bit of a fun with it, saying, "Oh, there's no fucking bullshit, no fucking DLC or anything. It is what it is," which is always nice to hear. He's always unashamedly going, "I'm making co-op games, not single-player games. You can play co-op as well. So this is a two-player game. It's not a multiplayer game. It's a two-player game. You have to have two people to play it."
Yeah.
But the fact that he set the scene. What's the basic setting? This dystopian future, companies turning books into like real life, probably simulations. Two of them got mixed up. There you go. And now here's some gameplay footage of showing you how the fantasy and sci-fi elements interact.
Yeah, and then he went on to explain it a little bit, right? He did that fun bit where it's like you get a baby dragon, then it gets to a bigger dragon, and then a bigger dragon, and then you end up flying the dragon. But just the gameplay mechanics it showed up, it was a mix of like basically everything you've seen in platformers over the years, from 2D to 3D to riding creatures, driving creatures, snowboarding down a hill, floating through the sky, grappling, platforming. It pretty much did everything.
Yeah, he's doing the kind of Astrobot thing where he said every level is going to have its own different core mechanics. Well, Astrobot doesn't do it for every level, but does it for quite a lot, and that's one of the things that keeps the game really interesting.
Yeah, and obviously It Takes Two won Game of the Year a few years back, and it seems to be taking that kind of co-op humor. Like, there's a level here where you're playing as sausages rolling around on a barbecue. Like, that's clearly something that was on a storyboard, and like, yeah, we can do that. Let's get it in. And then it pivots towards like this big sci-fi thing where you're wall running with a sword and a neon cyber suit, and it just looks so wacky and zany. But yeah, he's definitely clearly got a passionate team over there, and they seem to have fun making games.
I think this is, what is it? It's coming out in March 2025. I think this is going to be a big hit next year. I really do. Just, he's got the track record, he's got the passion, and I think it looks awesome. And
at the end of the trailer as well, it does say, asterisk, Friend Pass requires installation of the Friend Pass and applicable platform account. So it does look like they're going to follow the same tactic as It Takes Two, where if you buy the game, you got one Friend Pass to give to someone you know so they can play co-op alongside you. So you basically get 2 copies of the game.
Yeah.
Which is value for money, right?
I'm guessing with the Friend Pass, the second person can only play with you.
I would imagine so, yeah. I don't think they get another pass themselves to then pass on like a daisy chain.
No, I wasn't thinking like a daisy chain. I mean, like, they can't play with another person who has a game. Probably has to be with the person who gives them the Friend Pass.
I'm not sure.
But either way, I mean, it's one of them ideas where, okay, he wants to make co-op games. How do you make co-op games accessible without having to sell 2 copies of the game? Because that suddenly, a £50 game is now £100 before you can play it.
Yeah. Yeah, EA have done well to kind of stumble on this guy, haven't they? Because he was part of the EA Originals, like, kind of indie support program, and then he's had almost like 3 hits in a row in one Game of the Year winner.
Yeah,
so what a gem! What a gem!
I called it. It's currently actually listed on Steam for pre-purchase for £40.
Cool, that makes sense. I'll certainly be playing it.
Yep, same.
Right. Moving on, we got a little look at Fragpunk for trailer. That's when you pop to the little boys' room. We then got Killing Floor 3 was shown off, which it looked like more Killing Floor. It's one of them games where, I don't know if you've played the previous Killing Floor games. My brother really loves them, where it's just ultimate chaos of just like kill zombies. It's one of them games that it was always going to make it to a third entry. Like, there's no like real difference in each entry other than the graphics get a little bit better, the horde mechanics get a little bit more improved, and the trailer made it just look fun. The only thing that kind of bugged me a little bit was the skins. I said, where games like are hard and gritty and grounded, and they have these epic like enemy designs, and then people run in business suits with like neon mouse ears and stuff, and you're like, you've killed the vibe.
When we played Call of Duty Black Ops Online, it's like, suddenly there's people in these ridiculous skins. It's like, it just takes you out of it.
Yeah. The Call of Duty, I think the game we played, anyway, there's a guy with like a magma suit that was like on fire, and I'm like, I expect that in like a sci-fi futuristic game, not a grounded Call of Duty.
Other people love that stuff, and the thing is with skins, they are going to stick around because people seem to love it. People spend a lot of money doing it, and that keeps a lot of these games afloat. So that's probably what Tripwire are banking on, really. But I don't know. I'm not fond of them. I think they should try and restrict the skins and stuff to what suits the game. You're muted.
Tell you what suits the game. Borderlands 4 was also showing off. Randy Pitchwood was on stage showing off the next entry, which we knew was coming because they showcased it immediately after the movie tanked. Borderlands 4, this was the kind of one that got like one of them weird lulls where he announced it on stage, made a bit of a joke, and the crowd were a bit like, yeah, okay, Borderlands 4, and then even us were talking about it, saying like it looks like more Borderlands.
That's the problem. I think the problem, I said during the live stream, the problem with Borderlands 3 is it's not a bad game, but it was just more Borderlands. It didn't really do anything to elevate what Borderlands could be after 2. So given the choice now, if I want to go and play some Borderlands, I'm still going to go play 2 of the pre-sequel, not 3.
Hmm.
4 just looks like, again, like more Borderlands. I kind of want something more. I don't know what it is, but I feel like they need to evolve what the game is a bit to kind of just change things up.
Yeah, well, it looks like there's a mysterious figure that has kind of like an army of these mechs that's fighting against the crazy people. But I don't know. It doesn't look like it looks like more large scale warfare than what I would associate Borderlands to be.
Yeah,
but it's like, which is it going to get off Pandora? That's the big question, right?
I think 3 did.
I didn't play enough of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's one where I think we need to see more, but I feel like Borderlands, the shine's come off a bit.
Yeah,
the movie flopped hard. Like Tiny Tina's review well, but didn't sell great. Like Tales from the Borderlands didn't do well.
Oh no, it did nothing, did it? It just came and went.
It feels like it's an IP that instead of like stepping up to the next level, is just kind of plateaued a bit.
Yeah, I think it is that. Again, from my own personal perspective, I just think it's like I enjoyed it, but I just think it's served its time almost. Like we need a much bigger gap before people are intrigued by it again. And again, I'm sure the game will be fun and common, but I think in a loot shooter world we live in now, it's just like, what are you doing different, or is there now like 20 different people doing the same thing, like equal or better than you are? So yeah, no shade at Borderlands 4, but like even though this technically should be like a big announcement, it almost like it almost wasn't. Flat. Yeah, it felt a bit flat. We then got an update for Tekken 8. Final Fantasy 16's Clive Rossfield is going to show up in it, which caught us a bit off guard because we were like, "What the hell are they promoting here?" And it was just an extra character.
The rumors were it's going to be Tifa from Final Fantasy 7, which makes sense because she is a kind of hand-to-hand fighter, but they went with Clive instead, which is fair.
I think if there's rumors, I think it could be like in the new year. There's like another like Tekken going to because they're going to add plenty of characters throughout the course of the game's life cycle. So
they made a couple of character deals.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. We'll
start with Clive, then maybe you get Tifa, and then maybe you get someone from like, I don't know if they're going to remake a Final Fantasy 8 or maybe Final Fantasy 17, that kind of vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even maybe get someone from 10.
I mean, there's plenty to pick from.
Yeah.
We then got trailer for Splitgate 2, which we've seen before, which is the kind of the shooter with the portals where you jump through, a bit like the original Halo, but with portals to jump through. We got Mecha Break, which we've also seen before, I think at last Summer Game Fest this year, which is basically the big mech suits fighting a big arena. We got a teaser for a new Virtua Fighter, which we didn't really know what it was. We thought this was going to be the Sifu game, right?
Yeah.
When it dropped, because it was like, is it Yakuza? Is it Sifu? And it was from the same team that do the Yakuza games. So it had that distinct art style, and it was based in kind of like a Japanese location where it was like, is it Yakuza or is it the Sifu studio? Like took it to the next level, but then there was like too much gore for it to really be Sifu, like too much blood gore, rather than like more precision fighting. And then it ended up being Virtua Fighter, which Virtua Fighter I think is definitely the lowest. It
wasn't. We were thinking. Was it Project Century that we were thinking that looked like?
I think both. I think both of us we thought could have been either. But it was all made by the same studio. It was the Ryu something studio.
Yeah. Say it again, basically.
But yeah, weirdly enough, it doesn't look like a Virtua Fighter game from the trailer. It was almost like too cinematic.
There's a bit at the end where it looks like they just like filmed someone's TV with actual gameplay footage. And yeah, it looked like a Virtua Fighter at the end, but they'll probably go to different settings and stuff. So we've just probably seen the first setting that they're revealing.
Yeah, it might just be one of the sets. Yeah, where does Virtua Fighter sit on the fighting game world? Is it like
I don't know. I think it's been
Tekken, Mortal Kombat. Like it's definitely like the lowest.
I associate it with the Sega Saturn.
Yeah, same.
So, let's have a look.
30th anniversary.
There's a lot of Virtua Fighters on the wiki page. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown was PS4 in 2021, but Virtua Fighter 5 was PS3.
Right.
2007. It looks like there's been various versions of Virtua Fighter 5 since.
Very makes sense.
The original was Sega Saturn.
Yeah, following on from that, we got Project Century, which was the next one. We were like, oh, this is the Sifu devs. And then it was like, no, this is the Yakuza devs. Because it was all very hard to track.
Eventually, it just goes very Yakuza, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, now I can kind of see it. But yeah, this studio just pumps. I know they reuse a lot of their assets, but they've half and half got a system going at the moment where they can just seemingly get a game out every year.
The Like a Dragon series is one of them where I've always had a passing interest, but there's so many games and they come out with such a cadence that you don't even know where to start. So something like Project Century being not part of the Like a Dragon series, but a game of their style could be actually quite an interesting jumping on point.
It does kind of look like it could be part of the Yakuza series. Like, I know it's called Project at the moment, so they could easily turn around and go, no, it is something Yakuza. Or not even Yakuza anymore. What
it's Like a Dragon, isn't it? Like a Dragon 1915.
Yeah.
There you go, there's your title.
You've done it right now. Like a Dragon, not like a... But yeah, this was distinctly more violent.
I like the blurb from Eurogamer. It's 1915 Japan, and fisticuffs are plenty.
Fisticuffs are plenty. But yeah, Project Century. Interesting choice for it. But yeah, that was our next one. What have we got up next on this, Richie? How many games? We've had about like 20 games already.
Yeah, we've got loads.
So
we're
far.
about halfway. We're not even halfway through the list, so we're going to have to start going quick.
Turok.
We're an hour into the show.
Which one's this one? Turok Origins, wasn't it?
Origins.
This caught us out because it said Universal, right? And we were like, what does Universal own? What movies does Universal own?
I think a few weeks back we were talking about Turok, and it's one of them. Like, who does even own them? Because it used to be Acclaim, but Acclaim don't exist anymore. I'm sure at some point it was kind of in like the Rare deal when Microsoft bought Rare. Because I know there was some Turoks on like the original Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of them IPs that was like Turok on the N64 was awesome. And arguably one of the most important first-person shooters of all time, because it's at least the first one I know of that had any real popularity that used an analog stick to aim.
Yeah.
Which I think started setting the precedent.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like they went third person for this. It's an interesting change in direction. I think it looks like they've went more very techy with it. Where the original Turok, there was some tech, but like it's kind of stripped back. You're starting off with just a normal bow,
and
then you get like a pistol and things like that, and you're fighting dinosaurs. So,
but we've got like Saber behind it, and they've just done great stuff with Space Marine with third person. So I wouldn't be surprised if it looks great.
It's watch this space, I think, for this game.
Yeah,
I'd love to see Turok come back to the forefront.
Yeah, if it nails that Space Marine fun, where Space Marine, like it had a good story, but like graphically it looked great, but the action was just super fun. If you take out the Tyranids in Space Marine and swap them for dinosaurs, you could be on a winner straight away.
One thing I've noticed is throughout the trailer, there's often like 3 characters in like cinematic parts. I wonder if this is like multiplayer.
Like Space Marine, three team fire squad.
Yeah, or that kind of co-op. Eventually, 3 players can jump in together. You can play a single player, or 3 of you can jump in.
That's a good shout, that. And I think if they are using the same engine as Space Marine, that seems like a good copy and paste that kind of like that stuff over. Which means you could also lean into having like Space Marine does, almost like campaign or multiplayer content where you can jump in and just do operations either on your own or with a friend outside of the story. So yeah, I think that could be one to watch, that Turok, and it has a lot of pull, I think, from just like nostalgia.
Yeah, 100%. And we always say there's not enough dinosaur games.
Yeah, stop giving it just to Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and ironically, Universal have Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, so and they didn't use that one.
Imagine that, like there's going to be a Jurassic Park DLC for Turok Origins, isn't there?
Oh, could you imagine?
Imagine if they linked them. Like, Turok is actually what happens to Jurassic Park in like 1,000 years.
1,000 years time, yeah. You never know. It's crazy things have happened. Crazy things have happened. Moving on though, peace and democracy has finally been spread, Richie. We got amazingly shut up on stage, full Helldivers outfit, the guy from the original intro for the game. And for the first time in coming up a year now, we got new CG footage for Helldivers. We got a new trailer. Omens of Tyranny DLC expansion with the Illuminate third faction showing up in the game for the first time ever. And not only that, it's stealth drop, Richie. Now, it's out now. Helldivers 2 Omens of Tyranny is out now.
I called that was going to be a shadow drop as well.
You did.
I called it. I said it was either going to be out now or out in the morning or something.
Yeah. And just
Sometimes
like
they do that kind of, it's out tomorrow, don't they?
Yeah, and just like that, it's one of those things. Helldivers was fantastic, and it did win quite a few awards, actually, even though it should have been in the Game of the Year for me. But yeah, the crew are back, and it looks like we have the Illuminate, who are kind of like alien psychic creatures from the original game. They were the third faction that you got to in that, so they followed the same traits, but it looks like they control kind of like little zombie characters. So we essentially have zombies now in Helldivers. So we've got the bugs, we've got the robots, now we've got zombies. New worlds, new maps. I'm going to have to check this out tonight because it's stealth dropped.
I was going to ask you if you already installed it.
Not yet, because I only woke up 20 minutes before we started recording the show. So
I thought you were going to install it before you went to bed.
Nah, I was just sleep bound. But it's about time.
Do you think if this trailer dropped 2 months ago, this is now in the game? This game would have been in the conversation.
It could have pulled a lot of people back in. Yeah, it was definitely
not even the game out. Just that drop goes. Oh, more content is coming. It's coming this year. That kind of thing. Where it feels like it fizzled a bit.
Yeah, and this is where we've kind of critiqued Arrowhead a little bit, where I think they didn't realize what they had on their hands with Helldivers, and then when it did amazingly well, the team just realistically wasn't big enough to turn around more content fast enough.
They had to deal with a lot of server issues and account issues for places where you can't have a Sony Interactive Entertainment account. So there was a lot of stuff early days that they work on, which probably meant working on this DLC couldn't happen.
Yeah.
But they've got there. It looks like they're catching back up. So hopefully now this becomes part of a regular cadence where, I don't know, maybe 2 expansions a year, something with some smaller things in between.
Yeah, well,
something that kind of to keep it ticking over for a long time.
Well, they've certainly increased their work, the size of the workforce, which you can imagine. And they actively said on stage, we want to support this game for years to come. So I think it's popular enough and it's still got enough players that Sony and Arrowhead will be like, right, yeah, this is our thing now. We're just the Helldivers studio, and I don't think they mind. Yeah. They are a small studio, and they've made so much money. It's I
don't think if they are independent still, aren't they?
Yeah.
If Sony bought them, I don't think there's anything wrong with a studio being we make this one game.
No, not at all.
Because it's great to have things like Insomniac and Naughty Dog who are constantly making different stuff. But sometimes if Arrowhead go, we're making Helldivers, we're going to keep supporting this one, and eventually we're going to do Helldivers 3, then Helldivers 4.
Yeah.
And the staff there, when sometimes the staff might go, you know what, I'm fed up with working Helldivers, I want to go stretch my creative muscles. They can move on to something else, but the studio remains. If you have your processor set up well, you can make sure the quality and the charm of Helldivers never disappears. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm there for it. It's one of the only live service games that I have interest in. So they've got me, but I definitely think they're still ripe for acquisition. I think Sony have a history of they work in close second party partnership with companies. They did it with Insomniac for quite a long time, and then they acquired them. So they worked with them on Helldivers 1. They worked for 7 years behind the scenes to make Helldivers 2. It was a roaring success. It seems like a match made in heaven, where you practically work with Sony exclusively anyway. Helldivers 1 and 2 aren't on Xbox, on Nintendo, so you are pretty much for everything but name working with them. So, and for Sony, it seems like an easy get. So, thankfully, Helldivers saved the financial blushes of Concord for Sony this year. That 400 million they lost on Concord, Helldivers made up for to balance the books.
I didn't realize Magicka was actually Arrowhead. Magicka was awesome.
The Gathering.
No, it's a game called Magicka. I played years and years ago. It was 2011 it came out. You played as a little wizard, and you had to combine your different spells and stuff.
All right.
It has a very tongue-in-cheek,
Helldivers
comedy
humor
style to it. I think you'd actually, if it might be on PlayStation Plus at some point or in your library, but it's worth giving it a go.
Interesting. But we've got other games to talk about before that, Richie. This is where we kind of went into like the bit of the lull in the show.
Yes.
We got Palworld Fairbreak, which is an expansion for Palworld. Really bad trailer. Probably like the worst trailer of the whole night for me. Just like it didn't show off the game in any really great spirit or way.
It just kept showing people shooting things.
The same Pokemon looking things over and over again.
Yeah.
We got Wuthering Waves showed off, which I can't even remember off the top of my head really what that looked like.
Yeah, it's a free-to-play open world action role RPG.
That's about all I need to know then.
Yeah.
Onimusha Way of the Sword. Was this the one Jeff got really emotional about?
Yeah, Onimusha, I think it's got a long legacy as one of the kind of cult classic things that just hasn't. It seems like it disappeared for a while. I think it's like early 2000s. There was a lot of Onimusha games. I want to say probably like early PlayStation.
Was this the one
2 kind of era?
Was this the one Jeff revealed with the orchestra? Like they played a song, and then they were like, "Oh, this is a game." We thought it was the medley for the actual orchestra, and then it ended up being a game announcement. Or maybe that was a little bit later.
I think it might have been, but I think they had a VR game in 2024, a remaster in 2018, but I think the last game was Onimusha Soul in 2012.
Yeah.
And before that was 2006. So it's been like a kind of semi-dormant franchise.
Yeah, this franchise in particular looks like it's got like a cult following. And the gameplay, from what we've seen on this, it looks like it's leaning heavily into, I don't want to say Dark Souls, but it's got a lot of that like frenetic combat thing going on.
Yeah.
Samurai/shinobi fights, guess like demonic creatures in a Japanese setting. And yeah, it was a weird one because when the trailer like cut back to stage and he was like, "Hey, everyone, Onimusha, here we go," and then Wave the Sword, there was just kind of like a silence in the room. It was like awkward. Like I think he was expecting a bigger pop for it, but again, this is where I think is because Jeff's very closely tied to Japan, isn't he? He's clearly got a lot of passion for like the artistry and the stuff that goes on there. But yeah, for like you and me, it was like a new Onimusha. And I think the crowd were almost the same, where they're like, yeah.
I think it's one of them. Everyone's heard of it, but no one
knows.
Not that many people have played it.
Yeah.
Which this is where I kind of hope this is almost like just reboot the franchise now.
Yeah.
Right, this is going to be a new. Hopefully, the Way of the Sword is going to be a new starting point for the franchise.
Yeah, agreed.
Not take away anything the originals have done, but you do need, because it's been so long. Like, what was it, 2012? I said.
Yeah.
Like, it's been such a long time. It's like it does need a new jumping on point.
Yeah, agreed. We then got put more trailers. We got the Fest Berserker Kazan. We saw that at the Summer Game Fest. We got another trailer for that. Just all CG. Showed off a protagonist fighting some wolfy creatures and then a big wolfy creature. Didn't look too.
Which will be cool. Need to see some gameplay.
Didn't look too different from Onimusha, all things considered. Then we got Ara Dungeon Fighter, which again kind of looked the same as the last two, but with a slightly different setting. So it's that way. I think we hit that block with like sameness, where we didn't really know what was going on.
He's starting to get into the anime games block.
Yeah, pretty much the block where it's like, I like it, but I don't know if it's for me.
Yeah, it's one of them. Pick your favorite waifu, go on an adventure with them.
Yeah. We then had Dying Light the Beast, which I guess is the next big entry game. This is kind of sandwiched in the middle of this block. We knew about Dying Light the Beast. It's the kind of standalone spin-off from Dying Light 2, where the original protagonist comes back and he's seemingly going to tear shit up in the world of Dying Light. This one's one where I think it was like, you know, when sometimes there's too much of a good thing. I think people praised Dying Light 1. It came out at a perfect time in like a March-April window, and it caught everyone off guard of how good it was, the parkour, the combat. And then we had Dying Light 2 follow a couple of years later, like a really good just release cadence. But you know when you get the vibe like this is almost like too soon? Like, I think people are still enjoying Dying Light 2 to the degree where it's like, I don't think we need any more just yet.
You think maybe it's due for summer 2025? That was basically the reveal we got. So do you think maybe this should be a 2026 game?
Yeah, I don't know. Because I think I have my ear to the ground with a lot of like gaming podcasts and stuff, and I just get a general vibe. You know, like when we talk about like Suicide Squad and stuff, and you can kind of just tell there's just something about, again, like Avowed. Like, I know we keep going back to Avowed, but I just think Avowed is going to do badly. I don't know why. It's got that stink on it that you just can't get off. And for some reason, the Beast is just, I'm looking at it thinking like, it looks good, but who's asking for it?
Avowed's one of them where I've heard previews and it's previewed well, but then no one seems interested.
Yeah. And it's like this, like it looks great, it looks fun, it looks beautiful, and the parkour traversal, the weapons, all look fun. But I feel like because we've had Dead Island 2 quite recently, I can't help but look at this and go, it's the same?
And it's coming out in what is probably a stacked year, so that might just be a case of, you know what, we'll wait till it comes to PlayStation Plus or something. I can see a lot of people doing that.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the price point will maybe help them out a little bit. But you know, it's kind of like if they announced like a Just Cause 5, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know why. Like, great, it's a long-running franchise, loads of people love it, but do we need a Just Cause 5? If you get me. We then got a few more. I'm going to skip over it. We got Post Malone's
Murder Circus. This is one where I was like watching it, I was like, and they came up saying Murder Circus. I went, oh, what would it be? It'd be funny if we called it Post Malone's Murder Circus, because he was kind of introducing it. And that's literally what it's called. And it's like, oh, I meant that as a joke.
Yeah, that's a bad crack. That I like. Yeah, putting like a music artist's name front and center in a game is never. It's like Avicii's game. It's like you go.
But at least Avicii's game was like a rhythm game,
musical one
to his music,
not a random.
Yeah,
Post Malone might be a mass murderer for all we know. We then got Squid Game Unleashed, which looks terrible. Actually, take back the Palwell thing. The Squid Game trailer was far worse. It was basically an advert for the new season of the show coming out next week.
And there's a crappy Netflix game as well.
Yeah, it looked bad. Stage Fright. I think this was the one that looked like Split Fiction.
Yeah.
This was from the Overcooked people, right?
It is, yeah. It's from the team that made Overcooked. It looks like it's largely split screen. I don't really know. We haven't really seen what the gameplay of this game's going to be. Yeah,
that was the problem. It was like a tongue-in-cheek, two characters talking about the game rather than actually showing it. But it looked whimsical. It looked very much like Split Fiction, I think, realistically. Which means we could have that weird, like, two games like Dante's Peak, Volcano, Deep Impact, Armageddon coming out at the same time, where it's like everyone's going to flock to Split Fiction, and Stage Fright's going to be like this, you know, like Get Packed and moving out. One's always going to win, and one's going to be stood in the sidelines going, we had the same idea at the same time, and unfortunately we missed the beat.
One of them just stepped up. It does, it looks like a lesser version of Split Fiction, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It could be cool. Love Overcooked. It looks like they're moving to a co-op adventure rather than just party mode style games.
Yeah.
Which in some ways is a shame because they do awesome party mode style games.
They do. And I'm sure it'll be great. It's just, again, I think it's going to miss out because of that. Speaking of missing out, our next big game, which caught us off guard, was Game of Thrones Kingsroad.
Again, another one I called seconds into the trailer.
Yeah, we got the Game of Thrones music, we got HBO and Warner Brothers. You've got the likeness of Jon Snow and the Lannisters and everything. All seem to be here. The world is right. It's an action RPG. And I want to like this more, Richie, as a huge Game of Thrones fan. It, as you said, it looks like it's taking part during the events of the show. It's going to tell a story similar to Lord of the Rings: The War in the North, where it's in tandem with the real events of the show. White Walkers are in it. You're a ranger of the North. It seems like maybe part of but it looks like you go to other destinations like King's Landing and stuff. Hogwarts Legacy style, yeah. If this is fully realized and I can explore all of Westeros in Hogwarts Legacy style quality, that could be amazing. Just for exploring the world alone, the story might be secondary to it all. I
mean, there's stuff where it looks like he's like the main character is turning up to King's Landing. There's times where he's at the Wall. I'm guessing you play as a member of the Night's Watch.
Trying to place it, I've just noticed in the trailer, Cersei is on the throne.
Yeah, Cersei's on the throne. So That's probably
near the
that
end.
doesn't make sense though.
Near the end,
because Jon Snow is still in his full Night Watch regalia.
I mean, it might pass over a couple of time. Maybe it might do a couple of time jumps.
Actually, I think there is crossover where Cersei takes the throne and Jon Snow is still commander of Night's Watch.
Yeah. Like you could, like he's fighting the White Walkers, isn't he? Yeah, it's an interesting one because like Game of Thrones covers so much time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, this was like, if this came out 6-7 years ago, like right in the height of Game of Thrones, it could have been cool. But then again, Hogwarts Legacy came out well after Harry Potter was finished, and it did great. So it's like, does the IP do enough to pull? But I need to see more. I need to see more of like how big the scale is, how story driven it is, or is it just like he's an area you drop in, you fight people outside of Winterfell, but you never get to go in Winterfell. You get to see King's Landing, but you just fight people on the beach outside in King's Bay. And it's like, so you're not going to have the full immersion.
I think it's not bad for a fair showing. They kind of showed off, go right. We're doing a Game of Thrones game, and we have got a lot of the actual cast from the show involved.
Yeah.
So I think for a 2-minute trailer, that's enough for now. Next time out, it's gameplay time. Yeah. Let's see what the game actually is. Yeah. Because it'd be a shame if they've just blown the budget and they're getting a ton of actors in to reprise their characters, and it's actually just a boring, generic action game that just happens to be set in Westeros.
Yeah, we also need to know if it is the true voice actors as well.
I think it is.
They've got the likeness.
The Eurogamer write-up is like suggests it is Kit Harington.
I mean, he's done games before. He did Call of Duty, doesn't he? So, and a lot of them aren't really in work right now. Like a lot of them are just kind of like stalled since the show finished. And
realistically, for a lot of these actors, there's probably a lot of money for a couple of days' work.
Yeah, show up and just go, "You bastard," and then you get $1,000. Yeah. Moving on, we've got a couple of quick games to get through. Double Dragon got a revival game, looks super fun. Solo Leveling Arise got a trailer. We got Screamer, Last of Us Part 2 coming to PC. Den of Wolves got a trailer. This looks a bit like Paydays. Looks fun. Zenless Zone Zero got a chunk. We hit our Honkai, Star Rail, Hoyoverse block. Lots of anime, girls with big boobies. Lego Fortnite Odyssey, whatever that is, that got a block as well. We got a brief teaser for Sonic Racing Crosswells, which just showed Shadow get in the car and drive off. That was it. It was the most pointless of trailers ever. Yeah,
it feels like if that wasn't there, nothing changes.
Nothing changes, no. You would have been better putting a trailer for Sonic 3, the movie, coming out this week. It basically looks like we're getting another Sonic Racing, which is cool. Supercharged was fun a couple of years back. Sonic's at the height of his power right now, some would argue, so why not get it in there? And it did say Crossworlds, makes me think we might jump into other Sega franchises.
Maybe. They're trying to take Sonic Team Racing and make it more like a Mario Kart vibe, where Mario Kart was restricted to Mario characters at first, but then they started breaking it down a bit to do like the more Smash Bros thing.
Yeah, I can see that. And it could work. It could work. You go through like one of the big Sonic rings and you somehow end up in a different universe. So
just the guy from Yakuza just driving along.
Hey, you know what?
Sega, you could get like Joker and stuff from Persona.
Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
Could be one of the cars. Yeah. Do it.
Just literally Crazy Taxi. That's what you.
Yeah, just you play as the taxi. We then got, as we knew about, we got a trailer for Mafia: The Old Country, which I think does look great. I said during the show is again exploring human history. We get so much generic stuff that just looks like future sci-fi, random fantasy. It's like we very rarely actually get games that go and explore human history that much, other than outside of Assassin's Creed and Red Dead Redemption. We get very few that actually look back at our own history, and I think Mafia taking almost like a reboot point and going back to the 1800s in Sicily, in Italy, and telling a story about how the Mafia essentially started, I think could tell a really cool single-player story about like family and betrayal and corruption and honor and all that kind of stuff. And
I've never really been interested in Mafia, but
same.
I think this could actually turn my head a bit because it does look cool.
Yeah.
Again, it is another one that falls into the category of going, you've done a pretty awesome cinematic trailer there. I'm intrigued. Next time out, I want to see some gameplay.
Yeah. It does look, it's like turn of the century, so you've got kind of like old meets new tech as well. You've got cars and guns become more modern as opposed to like horses and knives and swords. Yeah. So yeah, it could be really, really interesting and hopefully very character driven. Because the Mafia franchise does good, but I think if this does bad, I think that could be the end for Hangar 13.
Yeah. Why do I feel like this game's going to end up with your character heading over to America to kind of start
absolutely.
a crime family over there?
Absolutely. Uncle Luigi's just got to New York and he said he needs help.
Yeah.
Mario, get a move on. That's
take the warp pipe.
Take the warp pipe.
It's quicker.
Then we got Infinite Nikki. We got a trailer for Dispatch and Okami sequel. This was the one that
Dispatch was interesting. Terrible setup from Aaron Paul and Laura Bailey, though. That was just cringe-worthy watching.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of talk about who's more famous than the other. It's just, oh, God.
Yeah.
But the idea that you're kind of working for like a superhero agency, kind of like Vault from The Boys, and you're dispatching the heroes out to crime scenes.
Yeah.
And like a kind of point-and-click adventure looks like it could be quite an interesting thing.
Yeah, and this is a tie into the Dispatch show on Amazon Prime. So I think if the show does well, I think the game could do really well in like a Telltale style storytelling. It's from the same people who do Wolf Among Us and stuff. So just a reminder that Wolf Among Us 2, still no idea where that's at. Supposed to come out this year, no idea. Then Richie, then we got the trailer for Okami 2, which is the one Jeff Keighley nearly like teared up about, because we've not seen Okami since PlayStation 2. Which after this, my retro collection, I started trying to add to it.
You gonna add Okami?
I have ordered it. It's coming because I thought, here we go. I thought if just the sequel's just been announced, get on eBay. Got my copy for less than a tenner. Guarantee you now this new game's been announced, that rarity value is going to shoot up.
Oh, 100%.
So the PS2 one, I guarantee you, if you look probably from any point from this week onwards now, you ain't going to get a copy of that. I got a really good condition copy, manual and disc.
People like you are going to be buying them all up to hold on to and sell.
I mean, I don't sell mine. It's part of my retro collection. But again, I know it's such... When I was listening to one of the after show things while I was trying to get to sleep, they were saying like Okami's like so well revered as one of them ultimate cult PlayStation classics, and I was one of them where I was like, I've never played it. I was reading a brief description about it, and I was like, it does actually sound like one, them artistic PS2 games like Eco and stuff, where you're like, oh yeah, it didn't really maybe get the acclaim it deserved because of just I was too young to understand it.
Yeah,
I think Okami could be like that.
To strengthen that point, Okami received a critical acclaim with a score of 93 out of 100 on Metacritic. It's that sort of like
good to have in your collection then.
Yeah, it's currently sitting on 92 on Steam Metacritic. That's the HD version, all very positive. £15 on Steam. That
sounds like a good investment for me then.
Yeah,
especially if the second one's coming out. I'm actually going to look at Okami PS2. Let's see how much it is this morning. So there's some copies up there, about 22 quid, 20 quid. It's averaging now. So I got mine for less than a tenner, so that's quite good.
You can pick it up. Actually, you can pick it up from Amazon for 15 quid.
As of today, but remember, this news this is less than 12 hours old news, and it sometimes takes a while for the aftermarket to really get a hold of it. So get in there while you can if you fancy a copy of Okami for your PS2 collection. And then finally, Richie, we got a Crimson Desert trailer, which we don't need to see more Crimson Desert. I think we're both really intrigued by it. I think we just need to probably see reviews to make our ultimate mind up when it does come out.
Get some reviewers, hands on with it.
Yeah, looks like Witcher, 10 to a Crow, fight big machine robot monsters. Sounds cool. And then finally, which I did call this one, just purely based on visuals, I think we were a bit unaware. We got Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, I was going to say prophecy then, which was copyright leaked many, many months ago. We didn't know what it was. We knew it was a PlayStation IP. Turns out it's only the new game from Naughty Dog. So the makers, of course, Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, The Last of Us. It's sci-fi. It's in the future. It's in space. We have a new protagonist. We have an entirely new genre, never seen before from Naughty Dog. And yeah, Richie, I feel like I haven't had time to really absorb this trailer yet. I'm the biggest Naughty Dog fan you'll find. And what's more impressive, this whole thing was captured on PS5 in-game.
Yeah.
Which is just like, damn.
It looks amazing. That's the quality you'd expect from Naughty Dog.
Nothing less.
And we get a teaser combat at the end where the character, she has like a massive
laser sword.
It looks cool.
Yep. She drives a Porsche spaceship.
She does.
Which is the only thing that threw us off, didn't it? When it was like
There's a lot of branding.
Which I think is why I feel a bit unsure about. Like, I understand the Sony Music Player because they'd done the same with like a Vita and a Walkman in the Last of Us game, but then to have a Porsche and she's wearing red Adidas trainers and the Sony Music Player as well, it was like it felt very like sponsored.
3 sponsorships in that one short trailer.
Yeah, like Porsche especially put me off. But then as soon as I saw the mocap of the main protagonist, it was like, oh, that is Naughty Dog through and through. Even like some of the imagery they use.
I'm guessing what they've done is they've been trying to they went to Porsche, went, hey, we're making the sci-fi game. Would you like to slap your logo on the back of our spaceship for a huge sack of cash and to help fund the game?
Or vice versa.
Which you might see Sony start to do more stuff like this, because when they're talking before about our IP games, sometimes the cost of the IP gets very expensive in regards to Spider-Man. So they might have told all the studios what you need to do is find other funding opportunities, because we can't keep pushing the price higher. Mm-hmm. And if you want to keep making these single-player games, we need to see a return.
Quite possibly.
Go find sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, but the trailer basically shows off. It's very much got that like 1980s, 90s aesthetic. She plays Pet Shop Boys. It looks like our character is a bounty hunter going to a world that hasn't been seen. There is actually an actual blog post. I don't know if you can find it while the trailer's playing. She seems to have an agent who finds her these bounties, who she speaks to through a ship. And she heads off to fight them. But it looks gorgeous. It's Naughty Dog, so I fully trust them with that. They have not had a miss in their entire existence. So,
well, factions.
No, I mean like a commercial.
Missed so much it didn't come out.
No, but it hasn't. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
If it hasn't come out, then they made a smart decision not to release it, right? Financially, internally, yes, but to the public eye, they've not had a game that's not reviewed poorly ever. Jack and Daxter series, Crash Bandicoot, all the way back, Uncharted, Last of Us, they're all stellar, best-in-class type video games. So
reading from Naughty Dog's blog, we're back, and you've been dying to know what's next for us, and I'm thrilled to finally be able to answer. Naughty Dog's next game, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, currently in development for PlayStation 5 console. We've been working on this brand new adventure since 2020. This game is shaping up to be our wildest, most creative story ever. If you haven't already, check out the announcement trailer. Intergalactic stars our newest protagonist, Jordan A. Munn, a dangerous bounty hunter.
How do you spell A. Munn? Is like one word?
Jordan A as an initial,
right.
Just a single Munn, M-U-N.
Right.
A dangerous bounty hunter who ends up stranded on Semperia, a distant planet whose communication with the outside universe went dark hundreds of years ago. In fact, anyone who's flown to it in hope to unravel the mysterious past was never heard from again. Jordan will have to use all of her skills and wits if she hopes to be the first person in over 600 years to leave its orbit.
Damn.
That's basically the setting.
Yeah. Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Interesting naming convention. I feel like it almost like didn't need the Heretic Prophet add-on. I don't know about you. I feel like just calling it Intergalactic would have done it for me. I feel
like Intergalactic is going to be like the name of the franchise.
Oh, yeah.
And Heretic Prophet's going to be the name of the game.
Yeah. I mean, Naughty Dog ain't just going to do a one and done. Unless it's like absolutely just like reviewed terribly. But it's got Oscar-winning composers Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, which I know got a big pop from a lot of people. I have no clue who they are. I've seen a few people joke online saying these Porsche adverts are getting out of hand. Did you notice at the end when they do the hyperspace, it looks like the old Ubisoft logo?
Does it?
As well? Yeah. When they warp through space, it's before they went to their modern, clean white logo look. It looks like what the warp speed in the game is going to be.
Yeah.
And all the names like pop out. The logo pops out right at the end. It's that like Ubisoft swell.
Oh
and
yeah,
it goes
swell,
bling.
yeah.
But yeah, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. And like I said, I don't feel I've had time to digest this yet because in my mind, Ubisoft, Naughty Dog do such grounded games with character. Being in space in such like an open vastness, I don't know how I feel about it still. Like I'm sure it'll be terrific and I love it and they'll tell such a good story. It'll be great.
I've got a feeling it's just going to be all set on this one planet, so they're almost keeping it grounded.
Yeah, we're not going to get like travel from planet to planet to planet Starfield style. It's going to be grounded.
The narrative's going to be centered around discovering what's happened to the people on this planet and figuring out a way to get off it.
And we're going to meet a cast of characters because Naughty Dog couldn't do a game without having like 4 or 5 main people to build story and emotion and impact on the back of. I like the aesthetic. Is it bad that it's kind of like unfortunately got like some Concord vibes to it with that like 80s aesthetic? Playing Pet Shop Boys, the neon, the font style, the ship.
Maybe, but I don't think so because this is telling a single player narrative adventure. Mm-hmm. We assume single player narrative adventure. Concord was just another arena shooter. That didn't really stand out. Where because this is Naughty Dog, it's like we're sat here now very intrigued to figure out what's the law of this universe going to be, what's going to go on this planet, who's the characters we're going to meet. With Concord, we're like, oh, looks like a Guardians ripoff.
Yeah.
So I think this is landing a lot better than Concord.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll hear about this for another year or two before we see anything.
Yeah, I think they'll go a bit radio silent now. But we've got Ghosts of Yotai and then this now within the space of a couple of months. So we're finally starting to see what PlayStation have got in the locker.
I almost feel like this trailer is a bit of a political move because everyone knows about Naughty Dog cancelling factions. Mm-hmm. So it's been a while since Last of Us, depending on how you count, because they keep bringing out The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2.
Coming to PC.
Yeah, so they keep bringing and remasters, and they brought out Last of Us Part 2, then they brought it to PC, and they brought out the remaster of Last of Us Part 2, now they're bringing that to PC. So it feels like Naughty Dog need to get something out there.
Yeah.
Like, what are you working on? I was like, we've been working on this game for 4 years, guys. Just chill. I think it's almost a bit like that. And there's a lot of pressure on Sony because we keep sitting here going, what have you got for us coming up?
Yeah.
Other than Go See Yotai.
Yeah, there's a couple
of things. We now know one more thing in the horizon. We don't know when it'll be. I think earliest 2026.
Yeah, I think 27 because I think there's a couple of things in the trailer where I've seen it references like 2027 or like a combination of those numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at that kind of billboard she's got in her ship, the one that gives me is this looks like there's a group photo all pinned up. Yeah. Where she's got like a target board and all the stuff going on. That group photo where they've all got like a beer in hand and a ton of cash. It's that like shot of like Elena and Nate and Sully above the treasure. But if you notice, like that main guy who she's bounty hunting, is it played by Kamal Nahali, I think he's called? Yeah. From Eternals. He's the bounty that she's going after. He looks like he's part of her crew. So I wouldn't be surprised if the story is like she's hunting him down, but when she finds him, they're actually friends. She's not there to kill him. She's there to be like, why did you leave us? Or how did you ditch us on the last heist kind of thing?
He took the fall for something else. He took down the rest of the crew kind of thing to like save a lot of lives. Then he's fled to this planet. He was going to tell her, but then communications went
got
dark.
lost.
It's uncovering his story as well.
Yeah. In the picture as well, it almost like looks like she's in it with a red jacket and she's since shaved her head. So she has hair in the photo. It's obviously, I'm sure this will get full breakdown as they go through, but yeah, just trying to like deep dive a little bit because Naughty Dog don't put anything in here by chance. It's all been meticulously put in and the links and what they're showing. So yeah,
and the camera hovers over that photo long enough to make you kind of go, okay, who's these people?
Yeah, and we know they're connected.
There's a couple of other single shots as well on that board who I think will come into play.
Yeah. I agree. And it's interesting because we know these tend to take place in the same universe. So I wouldn't be surprised if the cartoon on the screen that she's watching is like Savage Starlight, which is the comics Ellie reads about the future of space. And we know Nathan Drake's ring is in The Last of Us Part 2. So it's like...
crew, I think, was called the Five Aces.
The Five
Because there's a few news articles that mention the Five Aces on this board.
Interesting, right. Yeah, there'll be a
Five
breakdown.
Aces, Mastermind, Dead or Hiding.
What happened to the Five
Aces? Yeah.
Interesting. I see. Yeah, potential aliases listed down. Definitely a picture of Neil Druckmann there. Interesting, yeah. So it does seem like there's going to be like an exploration bounty hunter theme to it. But overall, round out the Game Awards with Naughty Dog's next game. I told you they're usually always there. He said Neil Druckmann, and then we never actually saw him. I thought he was inviting him onto the stage, and then they just went straight to the advert.
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen.
But overall, then we got Game of the Year. Astrobot smashed it out of the park. Congratulations. And so collectively, I think we must have had about 40 announcements, reveal trailers. What a Game Awards. What to cover. I did joke and say there's some news at the end of the show. Nothing really to get in depth after that mega drop there, but I guess to cover it, Richie, Marvel Rivals off to a stellar start. 10 million players in 72 hours. Just a little bit better than Concord as far as arena shooter goes. I'm sure the Marvel IP had something to do with that.
It's free to play.
Yep. Lego Fortnite, Brick Life it's called. I mentioned it during the stream. I thought it was Odyssey. Lego Fortnite Brick Life seemingly is bringing The Sims to the ever-growing free-to-play title. It's going to be a new social game in a community where you build houses with bricks and you go get a job in the brick world.
Could be cool.
Could be cool.
You know what? I'm not a big Fortnite fan, but I like when Fortnite do these kind of quirky things. Like I enjoyed Lego Fortnite for when I played it.
Yeah,
when they made like, okay, let's try a survival game. And now they're making like a Sims game.
Yeah, and they've got the arena shooter inside, which I forgot what it was called already, but Fortnite, whatever it was called, is in there. Next news story: Ubisoft have the reward program being updated. So I don't know if you know this, but Ubisoft, every time you do something, you get Ubi coins.
Yeah.
And annoyingly enough, a couple of years ago, they ditched the ability to pre-order. So I used to always get my Ubisoft Gold editions from the Ubisoft store direct because I got 20% off. So I would get the gold edition for like 94 quid, but I would get it for like 70 odd because of the Ubi points. And then
the basic version.
Yeah, and then 2 odd years ago or something, they went, oh, you can't use the Ubi coins on pre-orders. So it was like, right, well, when the fuck am I going to randomly go in and buy a Ubisoft game from Ubisoft Direct if it's not a day one? So
it's for cosmetics.
So my points are just like kind of whittled down from like 1,000 to like I think I've got 200 left. But then now the new change is like you can now spend them on pre-orders of new games, which is great because now I can pre-order Assassin's Creed Shadows using the discount. So I'm going to get the gold edition of Shadows for cheaper, and because I'm going direct, Ubisoft get more of the profits. So it's a win-win for them. But yeah, so they've tweaked that, which is good. I think they must have had a lot of feedback saying no one's going to spend these coins if you don't let them spend them on anything and everything. Like, why gatekeep? Like, at the end of the day, if you're giving them a monetary value, don't be selective over what the money's worth if it's equal value.
And genuinely, they say their sales have dropped.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed aside, pretty much most other franchises' sales are down. Even Prince of Persia: Lost Crown didn't sell great.
No.
Despite it having critically acclaimed.
Won an award.
And Ubisoft have got themselves into a point now where there's always skepticism around their release. It's everyone stands back and waits before. I think they've probably noticed the number of pre-orders especially have dropped. People are kind of, I'm going to sit on my money, I'm going to wait to see how the reviews do before I go. It's like, you haven't lost our attention, but we're not, Ubisoft games are now at decreasing like frequency and less likely to just go, right, take my money, I'll have it when it comes.
Absolutely.
So I think doing something like this, it probably is to boost them numbers going back the right direction.
Yeah, makes sense. Next up, we got Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is finally killed itself. The final season was announced, starts tomorrow, or it's out now, we should say. This is season 4, episode 7. Rocksteady announced this is the end of their kind of like timeline chart for it. They did say initially they were going to support it for years to come, but the generic looter shooter, obviously, that WB took like a 200 million loss on. Seemingly, Rocksteady are done with it now, which I think it's a smart choice. I think it's one of them things where if you don't do good out the gate with these type of games, it's not worth the effort to spend 2-3 years of development time and resources to try and claw it back, because outside of launch, is a game ever done bad at launch and turned it around as a game as a service? I don't think that's a thing. If you don't have a big enough launch, I think that's it.
It's technically possible, but I also think the Suicide Squad IP
no one cares.
Nowhere near as strong as as like WB think it should be.
No one wants to be Harley Quinn. They want to be Batman.
They failed too many times in a short period of time to get something decent out, so I think it's lost any chance.
Yeah, this is where they need to take a long look in the mirror, and WB do and go like, right, let's just refocus. But it's dying. It's been dying for a while. I think, did you see it was on offer last week for like £5, the 95% reduction? Which is like, oh, that game only came out a year ago. So either way, we called it. We've also got some new games for the PlayStation Plus catalogue for December. These are the ones that added for Extra and Premium. Those titles are Sonic Frontiers.
Awesome. Good get.
It is. Only came out last year. The big Sonic open world game, reviewed pretty well. Forspoken, again, probably coming up 2 years old. I feel like in January it'll be 2 years old. That's the Square Enix one, magical powers in an open world RPG. I actually have Forspoken. I got it in a sale deal. I haven't opened it. I think I got it for like $9.99. And I thought like it looked good enough. Yeah,
something about it just didn't click.
Yeah, but for a tenner. Rabbids Party of Legends, the Ubisoft originals out there, which is the basically the Mario Party equivalent with Rabbids. World Rally Championship Generations, which is a decent little rally game. Fist Forge and the Shadow Torch. No idea what that is, but it looks like you're playing a rabbit in a steampunk world. The awesome Jurassic World Evolution 2. If you want a park builder, definitely go check that one out while you wait for Turok. Coffee Talk, nice little indie game. Tells a small story about people making friends, as is Coffee Talk 2. A Space for the Unbound. No idea what that one's about. Fogs, Richie?
Fogs.
Shout out to Fogs, yeah. It's Cat Dog from the Cartoon Network show, basically, is a fun little whimsical game. Biped, also out. And coming to PlayStation Plus Premium, we've got the formerly announced Sly Cooper 2 Band of Thieves for PS4-5 with trophies. Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves for 4 and 5. Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy. And for VR, you get Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. Rounding out all the additions to your new collection. But that game news is nothing compared to the game news of the Game Awards, rounding out. Last little snippet. Google have announced that the Stadia controller's conversion to Bluetooth-only mode has been extended for another year to December 2025. It might as well just be a permanent thing now, right, Richie? Like,
yeah,
I guess just leave the website there. It's not really that problematic. Now, it's just not like you're really paying for server fees to just host a URL with a link to an unpacking APK file.
The cost of them hosting that is probably £1 a year.
For Google as well.
It'd be completely negligible for Google, so just leave it there.
Yeah, but great. It's been extended. If you have a Stadia controller out there, they are terrific controllers. Pick one up, and it works third-party Bluetooth now. So go do it. I miss using my Stadia controller.
Space for the Unbound actually reviewed quite well on Switch. It's 85 out of 100, PC 86 out of 100, PS5 83 out of 100.
I thought you were going to review the Stadia controller. It reviewed quite well, actually.
I was just looking into it, and it's like, so it looks like a decent get, actually.
Sweet. And then rounding out the show, as we always do for this super bumper episode, this day in video gaming, this is December 13th. We're recording it the day after the Game Awards. So it's nice and fresh for you fine folks out there. Of course, our guild heroes get the show early for being so supportive. Looking back at this day, Richie, anything jump out for you?
Yeah, Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
2
years ago on the GameCube.
I've never heard it called The Wind Waker. I always thought it was just Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Yeah, it is The Wind Waker, but...
Huh. Well, you learn something new every day. Also, Strider 2, also known as Aragon 2, came out 25 years ago. Don't even know what that is.
Aragon the Second.
Aragon the Second.
Telsagrad? 11 years ago?
Yeah, I've heard of that. GTA. Gran Turismo 5, 17 years ago. And not a busy day. Let's have a look. Oh, December 14th, Richie.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 64.
Nice.
That's a good one.
That's
28 years ago in Japan, Mario Kart 64 hit.
That's a fucking video game.
That is. Also on the GameCube, Animal Crossing, the original. In 23 years ago, Animal Crossing. Well, actually, we're due a new Animal Crossing. It's got to be a Switch launch window, Switch 2 launch window.
Planescape Torment, not a game I've played, but it's in like the vein of like the old Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dales, that kind of vibe.
That's cool. It's
meant to be really good. I've just never played it.
Nice. 18 years ago, MotorStorm for the PlayStation 3. That was the really fast, frenetic, like driving beach buggies and stuff. Remember that reviewed really, really well. And I think that's about it, Richie, for these few days. 8 years ago, Super Mario Run. On iOS and Android. Remember that. Mario just keeps running, you just have to tap to jump over things. 8 years, though. That's crazy. 8 years. Either way. That brings us to an end for this week's episode of the GamerGuild Podcast. Episode 70, episode 441 in total, of course, as we celebrate passing 2,000 subscribers. We did it, Richie. 5 years, 950 videos later. We've passed the 2K mark.
And the death of the primary focus of the channel.
Absolutely. But we're here celebrating, of course, the Game Awards. So many announcements. Before we wrap up, what was your big final one then? What was the biggest thing you saw?
Naughty Dog's definitely up there.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure. Honkai Star Rail.
Oh, of course.
No,
you like them Tig Biddies.
Witcher 4. It's Witcher 4.
Witcher 4. I think I'm with you on that one. I need to see more of Naughty Dogs, whereas I know what to expect from The Witcher.
Yeah, and I want it. So
absolute hype. Remedy didn't show anything off, surprisingly. We had Sam Lake on stage with an award, so he was present, but he didn't show anything. Xbox, very little show. Nintendo had a few adverts, which you expected. So third party showed up big for the 10th anniversary.
Yeah, I think with the Game Awards, I think going forward, I don't think you're going to see big hits from Xbox, PlayStation, and Xbox. I think they've dropped Naughty Dog's game because it's an anniversary one.
Uh-huh.
And as I said earlier when we're covering it, it feels like there's something hanging over Naughty Dog at the moment that just needed to tell people what they're working on.
Yeah.
So it's probably not enough there to actually have a PlayStation showcase or state of play, but they can just now take the main stage at the Game Awards and just.
Well, if you think about as we head into next year, it will have been since 2020, since the last game. So you're talking half a decade, and they've not told us what's next. So if we have to wait another 2 years, then best get it out the door. But
we could remaster Last of Us Part 1 again.
I mean, I'm waiting for an Intergalactic remaster already, and it's not even out yet. But don't forget, everyone, like, subscribe, ring that bell so you kept in the loop with all the great content we do here, like our early morning watch-alongs, our usual weekly live streams every Thursday, Friday. We get together and play a game with you, the wonderful crew out there. Every Monday, 8 a.m, this show goes live, but if you are a Guild hero, you can get it early. Follow us on all social feeds at GamerGuild TV. You can find us across everyone, everything, everywhere. You can check our Discord out, where we've got a great bunch of people talking video games and general life discussion through and through, week in, week out. And shout out to all the new folks who joined us for the stream. Shout out to all of our new members who picked up a subscription, thanks to the courtesy of a couple of wonderful folks in the chat this past evening. That's been it for a bumper episode of the GamerGuild Podcast. My name has been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been very tired people watching the Game Awards. But remember, everyone, play whatever makes you the happiest, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.